Hey, it's Justin with Seaboard Marine. In this video, we're back on the Sea Harvester. We're gonna take a look at the hydraulic system and we're gonna drop in the engine for the final time. So here's the finished deck. In the last video, it wasn't quite cleaned up. Just needs the nod skid and it's ready to go. We're gonna take a look at the hydraulics. We made a few changes to the hydraulics. Most of the deck gear was already here and a lot of the plumbing was already in place, but we did add a anchor winch and we also added some manifolds for the pressure and return, and we modified the tank. We just kind of cleaned things up a little bit. Whoever installed the gear on the deck originally did a pretty good job. There's quite a bit here. You can see we got the salmon girdies. We got 2 on each side with controls, 2 over on that side. We've got a rope puller here, and we've got a pinch puller for long lining. You can see some of the plumbing down here. Also, we have a bait chopper, little rotary mill here. Don't want to stick your hand down in there. And we've got the trap pinch puller on a boom, and here's the controls there. So that's a pretty nice setup. So most of this was here, and it's a really well set up boat. A lot of the gear and equipment on this boat makes it really nice to fish with, and it's really set up to do a lot of different things, which is great, but it also added a lot of weight, and that's part of why the outdrive wasn't able to keep up and push such a heavy boat and get it up onto step. So that's why we had to switch to a V-drive and add some length to carry all this gear more efficiently.
So the boat came to us with some issues with the outdrive system and some of the hydraulics. So what we did was I kind of redesigned some of the hydraulic components on this thing to work better with the existing pump that the customer had. So what we have here is a pressure manifold and a return manifold. So off of this side of the pressure manifold is where our pressure connection from our pump is going to connect.
So you just have it capped right now?
We just have it capped right now because the pump is off of the engine.
It'll pressurize this whole...
It pressurizes this whole manifold across here.
So he didn't have these manifolds before?
No, he did not.
Okay.
And then this is our return manifold. So all of our return lines that were existing and some new ones in the boat come to this manifold through this hose and through this hose. And what we do is we regulate the amount of volume coming through this hose to push more volume through this hose, through our heat exchanger and back to tank. So by utilizing these 2 hoses, this one,
Oh,
right
that's
here.
on the other end of the...
That's on the other end of the manifold.
Yeah, okay.
With a valve on it.
I see that.
Okay. So by closing this valve, it restricts the flow out of the manifold in this port and this the flow out of the manifold into this port and increases our hydraulic volume through our heat exchanger and back to tank.
Okay.
If this system is running too cold, we open this valve up, which allows more flow through this hose and back to tank, and less oil through this hose.
Oh, I see. It's just so this is just a pass-through.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so those are kind of equalized in a way, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
But we can put resistance on this one to increase flow through this one.
Right. So you can't stop. You can't necessarily stop flow through this.
I cannot. No.
Except for the resistance of this is going to slow this down somewhat. If that's fully open,
That's correct.
this hose is larger.
Right.
And this will have some resistance, so a little more fluid would flow through the T and straight out.
Right.
But then you start choking off that, and it forces more through the cooler and back and then out to the tank. Okay.
So the path of least resistance is through the larger hose.
Right. That's by design.
Right. So this is our water inlet from our engine. Water outlet goes up here, discharges onto the deck so the customer can see the water coming out of the heat exchanger.
Oh, okay.
These are flow controls valves. These valves set the speed of 2 different motors on the boat.
Okay.
This valve controls the speed of this directional control valve.
Okay.
This directional control valve controls neutral, forward and reverse on his water pump.
Okay.
What that enables him to do is to draw water out of the ocean, out of the discharge port of the water pump, through the deck to a deck hose.
Good.
Or if he wanted to use this pump as an emergency bilge pump, he could take that deck hose, put it in the engine compartment,
And reverse it?
and reverse it through this electrical control valve,
Wow, that's cool.
and that sucks the water out of the engine, back through the through hole, and back into the ocean.
So you could have a pretty good sized hole in your boat and still stay afloat.
Right. Or he can connect that hose to his fish hold and pump his fish hold out.
Okay.
So it's a kind of a neat system.
So you can use it as a water vacuum or as a as a deck hose.
And
Nice.
it's a pretty good sized volume of water that's going to come out of there. This other flow control here, which you can see kind of barely here, that flow control controls the speed of his salmon gerties. So the salmon gerties, the salmon fishing is a very slow kind of, you don't need a lot of volume of oil to do that fishery. So by setting this, we don't overspeed the gerties. So, and these two are adjustable. He can adjust them to whatever he wants. If he wants more water flow out of this at idle, he can open this up. If he wants, less, he can close it down. If he wants more to his gerties, he can open this up.
Awesome.
All right. All these little blue lines you see are all signal lines. Some of the existing black ones came with the boat. These are some of the new ones. This is a little bleed valve that we're going to use.
What do you mean by signal lines?
Signal lines, basically this connection that you see is open right here. That connection is going to go to the pump. So the pump's going to have a signal line, a pressure line, a case strain line, and then the suction line is right here. So there will be 4 connections at the pump once we get the pump installed into the boat.
You had to do a little custom work to this tank here.
The tank was positioned right there.
It was right in the front.
Right. It was right against that wall. So what we did was we made some modifications to the tank.
What are you welding here, Frank?
This is going to be the fill for the hydraulic tank for the sea harvester.
Okay.
This is the inlet. And there's all kinds of other fittings that we need to.
Yeah, all this stuff was already there mostly.
Yeah.
But you're welding this on. What are you doing here? I see something here.
That used to be the old fill. We're going to plug it up.
Oh, you're gonna just plug it?
This right here.
Got it. You're just gonna plop this over the top and
Yeah.
weld around it?
Yeah.
Sweet. And the filter there's on the return line there?
Yeah, this is filtering the return oil.
Okay. Got a lot going on with this. Tell me what we're doing here, Corey.
Looks like we're installing the hydraulic pump on the front of the engine.
The bracketry was here. It had to be modified. This is new. The Lovejoy's new.
Oh, it's a new Lovejoy.
Yes.
Both sides?
The other one was a clutch.
Oh, it was a clutch. It's clutch.
That's right. That's right. So you had to modify the brackets
Plastic clip thing.
to remove the clutch, correct? It used to be longer,
This bracket used to come out to
all the way out to there.
Same pump?
same pump.
Right. We just took out the intermediate Logan oil clutch
And what was the reason we took that out?
because it's not necessary.
Because
It's the perfect.
isn't this a pressure
It's
compensated?
a pressure compensated smart pump.
So you don't need a
So
clutch.
why would you put a clutch on it?
Yes.
Flat blade screw.
No offense to the guy who built the
A
boat.
what?
Yeah, we modified the one that was driving the clutch.
Okay.
So we actually machined it down and keyed it
For the Lovejoy.
for the Lovejoy.
The hard thing about this whole setup is that it's got to be, it's
Yeah,
in
let's
between the mounting brackets and the engine.
Oh.
So in order to align it, you got to take the weight off so that you can move everything, get it in alignment, set it, and then set the engine. We would not have done it that way.
No.
but
Let's
we're
do-
just working with what the customer has.
Right.